Good morning, this is your math sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is STAAR questions for strike time, and these are linear equations. So this is part two. So the graph below shows the water level in a tank being drained at a constant rate. Please note when it says constant rate, I'm like, oh, slope, and if it's constant, I'm thinking linear. So if it's constant and it says the word rate, linear, and that's my slope, okay, we don't know what it is though. If the rate at which the tank is drained is changed. So if the slope is changed to 3 inches per hour. So now this is my new slope, 3 inches per hour. I don't even know what my old slope is yet. And the initial water level stays the same. Initial, that's where it says start. Well, where did we start? We didn't start here, we didn't start here, we didn't start here. We always start furthest to the left. So this was our starting point. So our starting point in this case was the X and the Y are started at 0, 12. And that's going to be important later. I'm not just teaching you vocabulary. This is going to be useful. How much time did it take to empty tank be effective? Okay. How would the amount of time to empty the tank be effective? So we changed the slope. We're starting here, but we have a new slope. I don't know if it's slowed down or increased. I really don't know. So I'm going to do several things, some of which are necessary, some of which are not, but I still think it's really important for understanding what to do. So I'm going to share this and we're going to enter, first off, we're going to enter the original points into Desmos and see if we can match this graph. That will let us know if we're doing things right initially. So here we go. We're going to share, and then we're going to have to pop back and do a couple other things. All right, to enter that, I need to hit the plus button and then select table. And I'm going to go, okay, we had a 1 and we had a 10. And we also had a 4 and a 4. All right, and if I press this little button here, hey, we get the equation y equals negative 2x plus 12. So that was our first equation. I'm going to write that down. Y equals negative 2x plus 12. Well, stop it going back, looking back at my paper. Guess what? Remember, this is in y equals mx plus b. So this is my slope, and b is my y-intercept or starting point. So we're not changing the starting point. The starting point is going to stay the same, but our slope is changed to 3. Instead of 2, it's going to be 3. So we're going to have y equals negative 3x, but we're keeping the starting point the same. So this is our new equation. So let's go back and see what happens when we go to our new equation. So I'm going to type in my new equation and change this negative 2x to a negative 3x. Whoa, this one hit at 6, and this one hits at 4. Wow. Okay, we have that information, so I'm going to switch back to my original equation and see my original graph and see what happens here. So we started at the same spot because it said our initial or our starting point was the same, but now we hit here. So it used to take 6 hours. Now it takes 4 hours. It would take 4 fewer hours? No. What's 6 minus 4? 6 minus 4 is 2 hours. So no, it now takes 4 hours, but not 4 fewer. It would take 4 hours to be great, but the word fewer messes it up. It would take 1.5 more hours? No, it takes less time. It would take 2 fewer hours. Yeah, 6 minus 4 is 2. I like this. This is looking pretty good. It would take 2 more hours? No, it's not. This was the old one. This is the new one. So it takes less time. So it's 2 less hours. So our best answer choice for this one is H. All right. A weightlifter is adding plates of equal weight to the bar. The table below shows the total weight, including the bar, that he will lift depending on the total number of plates on the bar. Based on the information, which is true, the bar weighs 35 pounds without any plates. All right. Without any plates, without any plates, without any plates. I see it without any plates. That means they want to know what is the bar, what is it when this is zero? Huh. Well, what I would recommend doing is going, let's input this data into the table and see what happens. So I'm going to drop this into the table where these are my X's and this is my Y's because they gave me a table. So I'm going to do that and I'm going to put all the information in. Don't necessarily have to, but I'm going to this time. All right. So I'm going to put in 2 and 115 and then 4 and 185 and then 6 and 255. And then I'm going to put in 8 and 325. Okay. And I'm going to do, you know what? I should start over with that. Sorry about that. Plus, hit the plus button, put the table. Now put the information in. I should not have started typing it over. 115, 4, and then 185, 6, and 255, and 8, and 325. All right. So there's my equation. Y equals 35x plus 45. Okay, that's interesting. So we now know the equation, and I want to drop back over and go, you know what? That's in y equals mx plus b format. So what did we have? We have y equals mx plus b. So y equals 35x plus 45. And remember, this is my slope, and this is my y-intercept. Well, y-intercept is always the x number. So I'm going to just put a number, comma, 0. All right. Excuse me, I wrote that wrong. 0, comma, a number. The x is always 0. Okay. And they wanted to know with 0 plates. So really all I need to do is plug in a 0 there. So I want to go y equals 35 parentheses. Oh, what's it with 0 plates? And I can plug that in. So let's do that real quickly. I'm going to switch back over to Desmos and just drop that in. So put in 0 for x. I always plug in parentheses. And I get 45. Oh, the bar weighs 45 pounds without any plates. And guess what? That's answer choice C. We're done. Moving on to number 3. An architect is designing an office building with in floors that will have an FM radio antenna 15.8 meters tall on the roof. Each floor of the building will be 3.9 meters in height. Which function can be used to find the total height of the building in meters, including the antenna? All right. Well, first off, every single one of these looks kind of like it's in y equals mx plus b format. So let's make sure we think about that. Remember that m is my slope, and this is my y-intercept. My y-intercept is something that's added once, okay? So I need to find my slope word, and I found a slope word. It says each. Each floor in the building will be 3.9. So every time there's a new floor, it's going to be 3.9. Okay, So if I have 3.9, that means it's going to be 3.9x because that tells me that each tells me that that's 3.9 is my slope. That 15.8985, first off, that's a one-time thing. There's only one antenna. We're not stacking antennas, so we're putting one and it's a positive. So we're just adding 15.85. So we're looking for something that looks kind of like that. Well, the one that most looks like that is um, this one. Now, why does it have an N? Because it was in floor. So really it's 3.9 parenthesis N plus 15.85. We don't subtract the antenna and we can't combine these together. So these are clearly wrong. Okay. All right. The next one, which table shows the same rate of change? So we're looking for the rate of change. We're looking for the slope. So we're looking for the slope and we want to know it has to be the same as this. So we need to identify our slope. So we have y equals 4 minus 5/8 x. M is always next to the x. So this right here is M. That's my slope. So I need to plug these in and see which one gives me negative 5/8. All right, so I need to see which one of these gives me negative 5/8. Now, this is going to be kind of tricky because they're going to give me decimal answers. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to input those tables one by one and see which one gives me the answer I'm looking for. All right, clearing this out. And plus button, table, and we have -3, -12. We have -1, -4, 2, 8, and we have 5 and 20. I hit this linear regression and I get 4 and I go and I look and I go, oh, y equals mx plus b. And remember, this is y equals mx plus b right now. And m is my slope. For the first one, I get a slope of 4 and I needed negative 5/8. That's not the right one. So A is wrong. Because for A, m equaled 4. Okay, so get rid of that. Plus button again. We'll go to the table and we'll do B. This will go in order -4. And then we have 10.4. And then we have 2. And we have 0.8. And we have 4. And we have -2.4. And we have 8 and -8.8. Press the little button, add regression, and I get a -1.6. Okay, so let's just look at the -1.6 part and turn that into a fraction and see if that is what we need. And I get -8/5. So in this case, I have m equals -8/5, but I needed -5/8. So B is also incorrect. Okay, we'll clear that out. Hit the plus button again, get a new table, do the next one. For C, -4, 6.5, 2, 2.75, 4, 1.5, 8, and -1. Hit the button, and I get a negative, which is good because we needed a negative. We'll copy this down, erase the parts that we don't want because our slope is -0.625. hit the little fraction button off to the side, and we get -5/8. So C appears to be our answer because we have -5/8. And just because, and we need to practice anyway, we're going to go ahead and check D out just in case we didn't make some sort of crazy mistake. And -3, 12, -1, 4, 2, -8, 5, -20. And I look and I get a -4. Guess what? It's negative, which is good, but I need a -5/8, not -4. So D is eliminated. Our best answer choice is C, or the answer choice is C. Okay, moving on to number 5. One type of redwood tree has an average height of 65 feet when it's 20 years old. If the tree is more than 20 years old, the average height can be modeled by this function, where A is the age of the tree in years. So this is important. A is the age of the tree, all right? And which statement about this is true? And by the way, it has to be more than 20. So A has to be more than 20. So what's the number more than 20? Well, and it talks about every additional year for this first one. So instead of doing 20, let's just do 21. All right. Um, so if I put in 21 and I'm going to go to that, I'm going to plug in that equation just the way it looks into Desmos and see what happens. And I have the equation H equals 1.95, which looks like that's going to be my slope. A minus 20 plus 65. All right. So we're going to plug in 20. We'll plug in 20 first. 65. What happens if I change that to 21? How much does it change by? Oh, it changed by 1.9 feet. Um, all right. So it looks like it's increasing by 1.95 feet every year. So we're going to stop that. So every year, this is my slope, M equals 1.95. And every year the tree adds 1.95 feet. Does age add year? Does size add years, or does years add size? And the answer is years add size, and this is wrong. For this type of redwood, the average height increases 1.95 year throughout its lifetime. I'd like to say after 20 years, that's true. All right. Each additional year of age over 20. Yeah, this was close, but this is better after 20. So because it has to be more than 20. So over 20 adds 1.95. Okay. So this is my best answer choice. That's a little bit confusing, I have to admit on that one. Okay. Probably wasn't my best choice. Number 6. Which equation can be represented by the graph shown below? Oh, I don't like these problems. It is so much work. Okay, so here we go. We're going to need to rearrange these. Now, we don't have to, but the best way to do this is just get in the habit of solving for y. So I'm going to start off with f, because we want it to look like y equals mx plus b. All right? So when I do that, and by the way, you know what? I should do one other thing, because we can eliminate some answers here in a moment. Angry man. we have a downward slope, so we better, when we do this, we need a negative slope. So their slope right here has to be negative. So M has to be negative. So I'm going to start with F and I'm going to rearrange it. So I have negative 3x plus 8y plus 16 equals 0. 3x plus 8y plus 16 equals 0. Well, I need to get that 8y by itself, which means I need to move this 3x. So that gives me 8y, oops, and I have to do it to both sides. So this gives me 8y plus 16 equals negative 3x. Now I'm going to subtract 16 from both sides. Now I have 8y equals negative 3x minus 16. And then I'm going to divide by 8. When I do that, I get y equals negative 3/8 x minus 2. So let's go to Desmos and see if that's right. And the answer is, I can tell you right now, yes, I have a negative slope, but I'm supposed to be crossing at negative 2. And this one, I mean, this says negative 2, so it's not going to be F, but we're going to go check it out by going to Desmos and going, hopefully it's the first one, so we don't get to do this over and over again. So we're going to go to share, and we're going to go, all right, y equals negative 3 divided by 8x, and then minus 2. It's like, nope, it crossed too low. F is eliminated. Darn, I was hoping to be the first one to make our life better if it worked. So we're going to stop the share and we're going to go check out G. G is 3x minus 8y plus 16 equals 0. I'm going to move the x's first. And now I have negative 8y plus 16 equals negative 3x. I need to move that 16. So now I have negative 8y equals negative 3x minus 16. I divide because they're side by side, so we separate by division. So we have y equals 3/8 x plus 2. Well, I have a plus 2. We know we need a plus 2, but this is a positive slope. So because this is a positive slope, I know this is wrong. I'm going to show you on Desmos that it is wrong, just because so you can see it. So this was 3/8. And yes, we crossed the y-axis in the right spot, but we have the wrong slope. So G is wrong. Okay, we get to keep working. I bet it's going to be the last one. Okay, we have negative 3x. So for H, we have negative 3/8 x minus 8y minus 16 equals 0. I add 3x to both sides, and I have negative 8y minus 16 equals 3x. I add 16, and I have negative 8y equals 3x plus 16. I divide by negative 8. And I get y equals negative 3x, 3/8 x minus 2. Well, I have a right slope, a negative slope, but I'm at negative 2. So this isn't going to be right either because we already had this equation once. All right, something that gave us this. Because look, these two are the same. So I'm not even going to Desmos to plug it in because we already did that. So H is wrong. So it has to be J. So let's go try J out. So J is 3x plus 8y minus 16 equals 0. I move the 3x. And I get 8y minus 16 equals negative 3x. I add 16 to both sides. And I have 8y equals negative 3x plus 16. I'm going to divide everything by 8. And I have y equals negative 3/8 x plus 2. All right, let's go to Desmos and hopefully we didn't make a mistake and have to go back and hunt. So I'm probably going to quit. All right, just kidding about that. So I have y equals, in this case, I had a negative 3/8 x plus 2. And look, it's crossing at 2. I have a downward slope. J is, in fact, the correct answer. Okay, moving on. The appropriate distance in miles between Los Angeles and a commercial jet flying from Boston to Los Angeles Air can be found using the function blah, where t is the number of hours the jet has been flying. Which number of hours and minutes is closest to the amount of time that the jet has been flying if the jet is 1,500 miles from Los Angeles? So let's write this down. M equals negative 475 t plus 2,650. And really, this is y equals mx plus b. But they told us t is the number of hours. So this is hours. And so the approximate distance in miles, and this is miles. So which number of hours, so we're looking for hours, is closest to the amount of time the jet has been flying if it has gone 1,500 miles? So they're telling me, hey, we're going to place that m with 1,500. So instead of having an m, we're going to go 1,500 equals negative 475 parenthesis t plus 2,650. All right, I'm going to switch over to Desmos. I'm going to type in the equation that I have here, and then I'm going to make the change. So our initial equation was m equals negative 475 t plus 2,650. That was our initial equation. But they're telling me that m is 1,500. Ooh, I'm sorry, I haven't been showing that. Let me share. Okay, so that was our initial equation, but we know that this is 1,500 because they told me that it's 1,500 miles. And it's not solving it. Why? I need to change that to the squiggle. Once I do that, I get 2.42, which is a really ugly number. But I can sit there and go, you know what? There's only one of these that starts with a 2. All right? So this 2.42 is my answer. All right? So 2.42, which one starts with a 2? Well, F. And if you really wanted to be tricky, I could get rid of this 2 and then just multiply it by 60 for 60 minutes. Now, you don't have to do this. The main thing is that you get the 2 part. And we end up getting, 2 hours and 25 minutes. But even not, the only one that had the 2 was letter F. So our answer to this one is letter F. Number 8, the total cost of renting a banquet hall is a function of the number of hours. Ooh, function of the number of hours. That phrase right there tells me that this is my X value. The owner of the banquet hall charges $85 per half hour up to a maximum of 4 hours plus a $50 cleaning fee. What is the greatest value in the range of this situation? Now, range is the Y. So they're looking for Y. Well, that tells me we have Y equals MX plus B. Now, this is crazy. They really messed us up on this. All right. They charge a cleaning fee of $50. So that's plus 50 because that's my Y-intercept. That's my constant. That's my Y-intercept. It doesn't change. My slope is where they mess us up because they're charging $85 per half hour, but they're talking about 4 hours. So if they're charging $85 a half hour, how much are they charging per hour? So 85 times 2 is $170 per hour. So y equals 170x plus 50. Well, the range, which they didn't ask us to list the range, the domain, the x values, how many hours could you rent it? You could rent it for 0 hours. You could rent it for 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, or 4 hours. But it says, what is the greatest value? Well, 4 would be my greatest. So I'm going to plug in 4 for x, and I have y equals 174 plus 50. So y equals 170 parentheses 4 plus 50. So let's go ahead and drop that into Desmos. Here was our initial equation, y equals, and please remember that 170 was because we had as the half hour, they were being jerks. And I need to come in and put a 4. So $730 for that banquet hall. All right, so basically they're charging, so y equals 730.00. And remember the y values are the range. This is the range. The x values are the domain. So they're your inputs. Moving on. Number 9. Which shows the same relationship as g of x equals 4/3 times 6x plus 3. I don't know. But anytime I see something like this, I know this is y. So this is like y equals 4/3 times 6x plus 3. Well, I have a table and I can have graphs and I have points. Remember, these are x's, this is y's, etc. So at this point, I'm just going to go to Desmos. I'm going to plug that in and see what matches and see what happens. All right. So y equals 4/3 parentheses 6x plus 3. Oops. Always got to be careful with that. Parentheses 6x plus 3. Well, I'm going to look at the graph first off. That eliminates B because it's going up. Eliminates C because it's going up. Now, I'm going to switch back over real quickly because we're going to look at the graph and we're going to look at what we're going to do to figure out the answers. So this one crosses at about 4 and it's going up. So we know it's not that one. We know it's not the graph because, yeah, they may cross in the same spot, but this one, that went this way, this one goes this way. So C is gone. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to start plugging in. These are my x values. I can plug in x's and see if they match. If they match, it's my answer. If they don't, it's not, but I need to check all of them. Well, these are my x's and I can plug them in and see what happens. And these are my x's, I can plug them in. Once again, I need to check all of them until I find the one that works all the way across. So that's what I'm going to do. Every time I have an x, I'm going to plug in. If I plug in 28, I should get 3. If I plug in 12, I should get 1. If I plug in 13, I should get 108. I'm going to check it for all of them. And that's how we're going to determine what our answer is. I hate it when it doesn't share that fast for me. So here we go. 28. And I get, oops. When I plug in 28, I forgot to do something. Always put the X in parentheses. That way, when you plug in, it works right. So, oh, when I plug in 28, I get 228. And I was supposed to get positive 3. So A is gone. Okay, let's go to B. We'll plug in 13. And I get 108. Well, that worked. So it worked for the first one. So now I need to plug in 10 and see if I get 94. And the answer is no, I don't. I get 84 because I got 84. So that gets B wrong. So it better be D. So I'm going to go plug in -5. And -5 should mark up to -36 because of the arrow. So I get -5, comma, -36. Then I'm going to try -2. And I get -12. This is working pretty good. I'm going to try 11 and hopefully I'll get 92. And I do. And then I'm going to try 15 and I hope I get 124. And I do. So D works out. Now I'm going to look at that model real quickly so we can explain it. Okay, so here's what's happening. This -5 matches to the -36. That worked out. The -2 was drawn an arrow to 12. The 11, 92, and the 15 to 124. All right. Here we go for the last one. What is the equation of a line that has a slope of 0 and passes through the point 6, -8? Okay, so we have a slope of 0 and passing through the point. So here's what I would do. Y equals mx plus b. Remember, that's my slope. So if that's my slope, and they tell me, oh, we have a slope of 0, I can drop 0 in there. So now I have y equals 0 x plus b. But they gave me my x and my y. So I can plug in those values. So now I have -8 equals 0 parenthesis 6 plus b. So when I do that, what happens to this? This goes away. So now I have -8 equals b. And we're going to go back to our y equals mx plus b. Y equals mx plus b. But this is the slope is still 0 because they told me that. Plus b was -8 because I just plugged that in right here. Well, what's 0 times anything? It goes away, so I have y equals -8, and I get that point. Now, let's graph this and make sure that we have 6, -8. So we're going to go back to Desmos just to make sure that that actually worked out. So if I go to y equals -8, and I'm going to go to that point, +6, -8. Well, let me zoom. Anyway, I'm having trouble. There we go. 6, -8. And that's what we're supposed to have. And sure enough, that's on the line. Okay. So we're going to stop or share. We know our answer choice to this last one is J. I appreciate you watching. Look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.